Looking at the Markets with David Modell.
Welcome one and all to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. I am super excited about the cannabis industry and cannabis stocks. I think they can be a great buy and hold type of investment. It's great for traders and investors. And I'm excited about 2019 and what that market's going to look like. And I've got a very special guest with me to talk about his future outlook for the cannabis industry and where it's going to go possibly in 2019. He is Mr. Alex Coleman, CEO and co-chairman of Tilt Holdings, Inc., located on the web at tiltholdings.com. Mr. Coleman, thank you so much for joining me today on Looking at the Markets.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. And if you couldn't tell already, I'm excited about the cannabis community and the industry. It is, man, what a great year it's been. 2018 was a blockbuster year in terms of news. You've got the departure of anti-cannabis Attorney General Jeff Sessions. You've got 3 new states legalizing in the United States. Of course, you've got Canada starting on October 17th, legalizing with Bill C-45 for all adults throughout Canada. And now you've got the Farm Bill, which legalizes hemp on the federal level in the United States, or will, as soon as it's signed by President Trump. What is the significance of the Farm Bill to the cannabis industry as a whole, in your opinion?
The impact on the cannabis industry is yet to be determined. The Farm Bill really addresses CBD from hemp as long as it has less than 0.3% THC. Interestingly, hemp and marijuana are both cannabis sativa plants. It's the composition of the CBD and THC as part of that cannabinoid profile that distinguishes the two from each other. I think what's going to happen is, people will adopt CBD. It is a naturally occurring anti-inflammatory. It's ideal for athletes. It's ideal for rheumatoid arthritis. It probably has health benefits beyond that, but you have to acknowledge that we've been in a long period with basically a medical blackout since 1970. And so I view it as a really great step that's already been, as you pointed out, it has been a very exciting year. There's been a lot of states that have adopted laws, both medical and rec. And I think as the consumer becomes more educated about the product, whether they just start with CBD, at least it'll broaden the opportunity for us to address the market with new products and new deliveries with new consumers. And the Farm Bill obviously helps the farmers too. I mean, you can't,
Sure.
Up until now it's been illegal to grow hemp, and now it explodes for an opportunity, new crop opportunity for farmers.
Absolutely. The Farm Bill is just one in a series of exciting developments. What developments do you possibly foresee happening in 2019? Can we possibly top 2018 next year in the cannabis markets?
I think we'll definitely top. We already are. I mean, it's Massachusetts went rec. Pritzker got elected in Illinois. He wants to go rec there. I think the accelerating conversion of states from no program to medical and then from medical to rec will happen very quickly. If you look at the timeline, I mean, it really is amazing to think from 1970 to 1996, politicians dictated to a limited number of people who were ill how they could get access to cannabis. And in 1996, California broke the mold. 26 years later, now another 20 years took place before, or a little less, about 18 years before Colorado went recreational. And what we're seeing is that a rec market is exactly what the consumer wants. They don't need to interact with a doctor. You get a proliferation of products. You address a mass market. And we're seeing all these incredible benefits, declining alcohol consumption, declining opiate use, and I think it's going to be explosive. And I don't think anybody could foresee that we'd be sitting here today with 33 states and well over 200 million people, over 2/3 of the country now. The population has access to cannabis. I mean, who would have thought that 2 or 3 years ago?
It's incredible to think about. I never imagined when I was young that this would happen, and here we are, and we're well on our way to, I believe, federal legalization in America. I think it's only a matter of time. Could happen 2019, 2020. When it happens, it happens. But man, industry and the stocks within that industry, I think, will explode to the upside even before that happens, though. Now, I wanted to talk about Tilt Holdings Inc. If people want to visit your company and find out what your company is all about, they can go to tiltholdings.com. I highly recommend that. I'm going to put that link in the description below this video so people can just click on that. And if they're interested in getting into the stock in Canada, it is ticker symbol TILT, T-I-L-T, easy to remember, right? And then in America, you can get the over-the-counter version. It is ticker symbol SVVTF. Now, what differentiates Tilt from the other cannabis companies out there? People have heard about other cannabis stocks and they've seen them explode. I believe Tilt could be the next one. What makes Tilt unique as a company compared to the others?
So the biggest difference is Tilt is both multinational, but also has a variety of competencies, all of which service the cannabis industry. So I think the larger peer group in the United States are largely focused on operating retail stores. And in the beginning, the revenue will be substantial. But on the back end of that, it lacks a real strategy in the market. The hope, I'm sure, is that everybody can engage with consumers, but with a physical brick and mortar presence, you're limited to some geographic radius around that store. What makes Tilt so unique is that we're really a multi-service provider to the industry. We're largely a B2B company. So we definitely have multi-state operations currently in about 7 states where we manufacture and produce cannabis products, distribute them, put them on the shelf of our stores and other people's shelves. We have a very big software and services platform. And our market share there is the largest in the industry as far as I know, where 1 out of every 3 dispensaries uses our software and services platform for CRM SaaS. In terms of distribution, we have ubiquitous distribution in Nevada, big inroads in California. We've got about half a dozen states we'll be in by the end of the first quarter. And we really want to provide an unbroken chain of product and delivery from the manufacturer to the store and the store to the consumer, and we've already built that network. So in a way, Tilt has become an amalgamation of the market-leading companies in their specific segment, and then they all overlap very nicely. And that's what the company is today. So we have consumer packaged goods and we have consumer devices. At the end of the day, those go on the back of our trucks and they get delivered to the stores with everybody else. The biggest difference is we're not bound or limited by the number of stores we have that we own directly. We've accessed over 1,000 stores already.
That's an impressive network. What I like about Tilt, among other things, is that it is vertically integrated. It's a dynamic, vertically integrated technology and infrastructure company. So it's not just dispensaries. It's much more than that. How, in a few words, would you be able to describe how Tilt creates shareholder value for investors in the stock?
Yeah, absolutely. We look at value creation in 3 ways. You're absolutely right. We're vertically integrated. And the reason we're vertically integrated is that in the new medical states, there is no source supply. And what you want to do is you want to establish an operation in a state that is medical. And the hope is, or the expectation is that medical state converts to recreational and the supply-demand curves invert themselves. And for some period of time, there's not a lot of demand, not a lot of supply, and a tremendous amount of demand. And we try and satisfy that demand as much as we can. And so that's kind of value proposition number 1. And in some of these new states, you're talking between $3,000 and $6,000 a pound retail for marijuana. Now, phase 2 is definitely to create brand identity and customer loyalty. And that's where I said we have the route to market to make that happen. And then step 3 for us that's completely unique is creating a software and services platform that enables the entire industry to scale up. And the reason we do that is today, with just a few states that are online, you're coming out of a 2017 number with about $9 billion in trailing revenue. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the data coming out of a state like Colorado, it should be a $100 billion market. And that lines up with the beer market's about $111 billion in the US. But that is absolutely the average annual spend per resident in Colorado would dictate that it's a $100 billion annual market if every market went recreational. Mm-hmm. And so if that means $90 billion isn't online yet, we're going to try and capture as much of that as we can. And that's where the real value is going to come from for our company and for our shareholders.
Yeah. And personally, I'm viewing Tilt as a possible even takeover target or perhaps just target for capital infusion. We've seen massive capital infusions from the beer industry, from the cigarette industry, which in the United States, those two industries are not doing that great. They see, the CEOs and presidents of these cigarette and beer companies, they see that cannabis is the way of the future. Millennials, for example, they're not drinking, beer and using cigarettes as much as they used to. They love cannabis, CBD, hemp products, and so they could view this as the next takeover target in 2019. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And speaking of possible good news, here's something that's huge. I just read this today. It's breaking news. Canaccord Genuity, a well-respected analyst, gave a huge bullish outlook just recently on Tilt. They're projecting their price target is $6 Canadian, which would be more than double the current price, the Canadian price of Tilt Holdings Inc. That's huge. That's a huge vote of confidence from a well-respected analyst. What is your, obviously you would agree on the bullish outlook, but $6 Canadian, do you think that's realistic, and do you think that could happen in 2019?
Yeah, so we've shared our internal data with Canaccord, and they have looked at the growth opportunities for the company. They've come up with a revenue number of about $460 million, with just shy of $150 million of EBITDA, which is about a 33% EBITDA margin. And that's a mix of business for us where, in terms of the states that we're in selling cannabis products, we enjoy 50% EBITDA margins. On the device side, it's slightly lower. It's about 21.6%. So you're looking at a blended average of EBITDA. But those forecasts and that correlation to our share price is something that we would adopt as a company, and we feel very bullish about the outlook for 2019. We also agree. It's a takeover target. We're really aggregating right now in the industry. We've set our company up where we can be very flexible, accommodate new companies that have distinguished themselves as market leaders, and so while Altria and Constellation have come in, and I would agree with you, it's very defensive. We're also talking to some companies more proactively looking at getting in the market that are more feeling about the upside than worrying about their own downside. So I think we have a lot of opportunities in our own company and in the market, and hopefully the alignment with strategic investors is the same way for us.
And as my viewers and listeners probably know already, when a smaller company gets targeted by a bigger company for share acquisition or takeover, buyout, whatever it is, if you're holding the stock already, it usually explodes to the upside. It usually you make a huge returns on that very quickly. But the idea is to get in before that happens. Okay, you don't want to be the last one to the party. Mr. Coleman, I appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience of looking at the markets in regards to your outlook for cannabis in 2019 and for Tilt Holdings?
No, I appreciate the time and the exposure. Look, we're in the middle of the first inning in a long game, and there is so much excitement going on in the industry. It's growing faster than anybody expected. As we've talked about, the adoption rate is higher. Consumers are changing their minds rightly. It is absolutely a nutraceutical, functional product, and I think has a lot of opportunity that we haven't even scratched the surface on yet. So we've really built a company to try and build up a knowledge base of 50 years of medical blackout by hiring scientists, bringing people out from outside in consumer packaged goods, and really in an effort to connect with the consumer and deliver something that's very high efficacy, but also more aligned with customers in health and wellness. So look, we see only upside in the market, and we've just gotten going. So it's going to be a very exciting time for everybody.
I totally agree. I've been speaking with Alex Coleman from Tilt Holdings, Inc. If you want to learn more about them, go to tiltholdings.com. I'm going to put that link in the description below this video. Check out the stock. If you want a company that is under the radar for now, but won't be, in my opinion, for much longer, you want to be early. You don't want to be the last one to invest in it. Mr. Alex Coleman, we'll have to have you back here sometime soon to check up on your predictions and my predictions, which are very bullish for cannabis in 2019. Thank you, Alex Coleman. I appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime on Looking at the Markets.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.